Welcome back, ladies. Oh, yes.
What's the difference between the intercessor and the prayer warrior?
I don't know that there really is a difference.
Well, I know the prayer warrior watches on the wall, watches for the.
I don't know if everybody's,
Just go.
yeah. Ladies, we're going to draw for one of the gift baskets or the gifts. We're going to do the 2 books and the T-shirt, the 2 books that Erica has written. So if everybody gets their ticket out. Did everybody get a ticket when they came in? Okay. Anybody else? Yep. Okay, the number is 700479. 700479. Yay, okay. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, in our first session, ladies, we talked about 2 foundational aspects of prayer that we need to understand. The first was that prayer is a pathway to intimacy with God, and the second is prayer is God's way of developing our trust in Him. This session, I want to talk about, I want to get practical. I want to talk about ways to pray. How do we actually center our lives, revolve our lives around prayer? I remember one particular evening, my husband came home from work and he said, honey, I'd like to take you out on a date Friday night to Bottega. It's my favorite Italian restaurant in Arizona where we live. I'd like to take you to Bottega. I have some things on my heart I'd like to share with you. I think we need some time together. So if I'm going to get to go to my favorite restaurant, not have to worry about dinner, and my kitchen is not going to be messy, I am all in. So I got a babysitter for the kids, and Friday night rolls around, and we slide into the booth at our favorite Italian restaurant, and we're not even in the booth probably 2 minutes, and my cell phone dings. And like any responsible mother, I pull out my said cell phone because it might be the babysitter, right? I got to make sure everything's okay on the home front. So I pull out my phone. It's not the babysitter. It's my kid's school reminding me that I forgot to pay for their field trip and fill out the permission slip form. So I quickly go in and I'm filling out the form on my cell phone and I'm rumbling through my purse, getting out my credit card, and I'm paying the permission slip thing, and then I put my phone down. And about 20 seconds later, the phone dings again. And I think I better check it, better make sure it's not the babysitter. Now, I don't know about your husband, but my husband at this point starts to get a little annoyed. And he says to me, honey, I planned this date because I have some things I really want to share with you. But I really need your full attention. Can we put the phone away and you just listen to me for the next few minutes? At which point I was like, ooh, I am not winning at this date night thing right now, right? And so I put my phone away, and he took my hands, and he began to share with me some dreams that the Lord had laid on his heart. As I got into bed that night, I sensed the Lord kind of say to me, you do that a lot to me too, Erica. You say you want to spend time with me, you make plans to spend time with me, you sit down to spend time with me, but then you're distracted from me. You're not really all in, you're not really focused on me. Your mind is somewhere else. And I wonder if you were to think what your top 3 distractions are when you try to sit down and spend time in prayer with God, your top 3 distractions are, what would be your top 3 things? I'll tell you my top 3 things. Dings on my phone. My phone is a big one. Dings on my phone. Dogs, because they're so cute. And of course, the minute I sit down on the couch with my Bible and prayer journal, they have some pressing immediate need that, I have to take care of, right? They won't leave me alone. Dings, dogs, and dishes. Not because I really care about the dishes or really worry about the dishes. Dishes just starts with a D, and it just encompasses all the things that I have to get done at home. Amen? It could be dishes. It could be laundry. It could be bills. It could be floors. It could be toilets. It could be whatever just needs to get done in my house. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm sitting there, and as I'm trying to focus and I'm trying to, be all in with God and have this moment with God, I have my phone going off, my dog's barking, and all the stuff that I know needs to get done on my to-do list. And my mind wanders. Anybody relate to that? So how do we get quiet? How do we settle our minds? For me, one of the things that I will often do before I start my prayer time to try to settle my mind is I will just turn on a praise song. And I will just sit and listen and kind of settle in, and it calms my mind down. I know other people, they can't pray sitting. They have to be moving, so they walk while they pray. I know some people light candles. There's just something about the scent and the flame that sort of settles their mind. But how can you get quiet? I have another friend who's an artist. And what she does when she has her prayer time is she paints. And there's something just there as she's painting, as she's stroking on that canvas, that she's able to connect with God. I know my grandmother, I mentioned, a big part of her prayer time was in her garden, out just with her hands in the dirt, pulling weeds. Think about, for your own self, what are some of the easiest ways where your mind can settle and you can focus. I jokingly say, half jokingly, I get some of my best ideas from God when I'm blow drying my hair. I don't know if it's the white noise, I don't know if it's the heat, I don't know what it is, but as I'm just mindlessly blow drying my hair, somehow I can connect with God in that way. I don't know what yours is. If you're a creative person, I think a lot of times for creative people, as you're creating and doing something creative, that can be a beautiful time of connection with God. Other people, I'm a writer, right? So for me, a big time of connection with God is writing it out in my journal. But what is your activity that allows your mind to stay focused? And what is your place or your thing that helps you not be so distracted? Be intentional about that. It doesn't have to look all the same for all of us, but we just need to be mindful of the way that God has wired us and then connect with him in that way. It doesn't have to be, on your knees by your bed, because that's the way Billy Graham did it. It can be anywhere, in any way, at any time, insofar as your mind is not distracted by other things. So think about, how do you get quiet? How do you get quiet? That is the first step to growing in an intentional prayer life. Getting quiet and how your mind best does that. The second step is this: checking in with God. Checking in with God. I went to this retreat. This is so funny. God has such a sense of humor. I went to this retreat in Washington, D.C. I was at Fort Belvoir, and I was leading a retreat for military wives. And I'm not even there 5 minutes, and this woman comes up to me, and she said, "Have you ever been to Women at the Cross?" And I was like, thinking, is this a trick question? Like, I don't even know what you're talking about. And I said, no, I don't think I have. And she said, well, you should go. You need to go. And I was like, well, okay then. What's your name? Hi. It was just such a bold statement that she made. She was like, you need to go. You need to sign up for this retreat, and you need to go. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll check it out. And so I go home and I go online, and I'm trying to figure out what this retreat it even is, and it's very vague on the website, and I am a very risk-averse person, okay? So if I don't have all the details, the answer's no, right? Like, I want to know. But as I'm going through this whole thing, looking at all the details about it, which don't really give me many details at all, but I'm sensing the Lord say to me, you do need to go to this. I sent her to you to tell you to go to this. You need to go to this. So I took a big leap of faith, and I signed up for this retreat, and I show up and I walk in, and the first thing that happens when I walk in is there's these 3 ladies that greet me standing there holding canisters of incense. And I am like, I am so far out of my religious comfort zone right now. Like, what is even happening? And they're like, peace be upon you, peace be upon you. And I'm just like, Lord, did I hear you right? I don't know what this is. It ended up being an amazing experience. But one of the things that we had to do at this retreat was every session we would have to come in, and they would pass around a microphone. There was only like 20 of us at this retreat. And we'd have to pass around this microphone, and we would have to say our name. We'd have to say, hi, my name is Erica, and I'm checking in. Meaning, I'm all in, distractions gone, I'm fully here, I'm fully present, and then we would have to say how we feel. And I feel whatever, name an emotion. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not a big emotional person, right? Like, emotions are just something that sort of gets in the way of life. Like, I don't have time for that. I got stuff to do. I got places to go. I got people that are counting on me. I got kids to take care of. I got stuff my husband needs. Like, I don't have time to sit here and think about how I'm feeling about all of it. I just got to get it done. That's just kind of how I'm wired. So when we had to sit here and come up with an emotion that we were feeling 5 times a day, I was like, what in the world is this? But I realized over the course of the next couple of days, the Lord really speaking to my heart and saying, you don't bring me your emotions. I created you to have emotions. I gave you emotions on purpose for a purpose. You need to be dialed in to these emotions so that you can be dialed into me with the emotions. Because your emotions don't have to be dictators, but your emotions are indicators. They're indicators of where your heart is. And so I need you to be bringing these emotions to me. I want to talk to you, Erica, about your emotions, about what you're thinking, about what you're feeling. And that was a big game changer for me because I felt comfortable talking to God about situations. I felt comfortable talking to God about struggles with other people. But I had a very difficult time talking to God about my emotions. I had a very difficult time coming to God and saying, hey, God, here I am. It's me. I'm checking in. And today I am ticked off. That was weird for me. Maybe that's not weird for you. Or God, I am so sad today, God. My heart is broken today. Or God, I'm so frustrated by this situation, God. But that is the second thing. After we get quiet, we've got to get real with checking in with God. God already knows our emotions anyway. He already knows what we're feeling. It's not like, we're going to tell God what we're feeling and he's going to be on his throne like, wow, that was a revelation. I had no idea, right? Instead, what he's going to say is, thank you for being honest. Thank you for being real. I think a lot of times we struggle with connecting with God because we kind of come with like this pretense. Right? When I first began to pray, I thought I had to pray like my minister in the big, huge pulpit in the front of the church. It was like I had to have like a special voice and everything. It was like I had to fold my hands just so and bow my head at the certain right angle and take a big, deep breath and lower my voice like 10 octaves. Dear Jesus, right? It was like I had this whole way that I thought I had to do it, this whole pretense. And it was so fascinating to me when God began to talk to me and say, you need to get honest with me, Erica, about how you really feel about things. Don't come to me and tell me what you think I want to hear. Tell me what's really on your heart. Whoa, that was freeing. But we see this so evidently in Scripture. And one of the places that I love where we see it is the Mary and Martha story. When God showed up, Jesus arrived finally, and Martha's at the gate, and she's like, where have you been, bro? If you would have been here, my brother wouldn't have died. Thanks so much. She's mad. She is so hopping mad at Jesus. And she lets him know. And in that moment, what does Jesus do for Martha? He reminds her of the truth. He reminds her of truth. He speaks truth. He says, Martha, I'm the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me will never die. Do you believe that? And Martha's like, yeah, I believe it. I believe you're going to do it in the last day, in the final resurrection. But what about my 2-day? We're not talking about the last day. We're talking about 2-day, and you didn't show up, and now I'm in dire straits. Where were you? And again, Jesus circles back to the truth. She didn't hold back her disappointment and her anger from God. And Jesus didn't get all like Gen Z on her and is like, I am so offended that you're talking to me this way. He just reminded her of the truth. And then her sister Mary, she's not mad, she's devastated. She's just on the ground in a puddle weeping. She can barely even speak to Jesus. And in that moment, Jesus doesn't hammer her with truth and go, Mary, get up off the floor. You know better than this. Where's your faith? He gets down on the ground and sobs with her. Jesus knows when we bring our emotions to him, whether we need to be reminded of truth or we need to be comforted by his presence. And he will be faithful and wise to do what we need in that moment. But he wants us to be real with him, ladies. He is our safest place when it comes to our hard emotions. I love it in Exodus 3 when God appears to Moses and he's like, hey, Moses, it's time for your do-over. Remember how you thought you were supposed to deliver the people of Israel and it was like an epic disaster and you killed a guy and buried him in the sand and then you became the poster child for anger management classes? And then you ran away to Midian and tried to just like pretend like it never happened and start a whole new life. Remember all that, Moses? Well, today's your day because you're going to go back and you're going to do the whole thing over. And if you know the story, when God appears to Moses, Moses' response is like, I knew I was the guy for the job. Let's go. No. Moses does not do that at all. In fact, Moses gives God a whole bunch of excuses. First, he's like, well, what if I come to the people and they don't believe me? They say, God didn't really appear to you. What are you talking about? What if they reject me? That's what he's really asking. What if they reject me? And God begins to tell him what to say in that situation. And then Moses is like, well, what if they don't follow me? What if I tell them to follow me, but they don't really believe me and they don't listen to me? And God begins to tell Moses what he should do in that situation. And then Moses again says, God, could you pick somebody else? I mean, I'm not like a really good speaker. And God begins to get upset with Moses. Do you notice that? God has emotions. God has emotions. And you and I are created in his image. So we also have emotions. And Moses is asking all of these questions to God, but he never really asks God the real questions of his heart. Well, what am I supposed to say your name is? Well, what if they don't believe me? Well, what if I can't pull it off? Well, what if they don't listen to me? What if they make fun of me? He doesn't ask the real questions of his heart. He's asking all of these details with God, but he never gets down to the nitty-gritty. What if I fail again? What if I have to start all over again? What if I'm alone